the end of a power couple's marriage. Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen saying they finalized their divorce after 13 years of marriage.
Even legends face battles no trophy can fix. Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings, a fortune beyond imagination, and a place in sports history as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Yet, on December 20th, 2025, when the world discovered that his ex-wife Gisele Bündchen had secretly married another man, Brady posted a song about feeling like his life wasn't his own. Now, at 48, the man who conquered everything on the field is finally revealing why he lost the game that mattered most. The wake-up call he tried to ignore. The news hit quietly at first, then spread like wildfire. Gisele Bündchen had secretly married her jiu-jitsu instructor, Joaquim Valente, at their Florida home on December 3rd, 2025. For fans, it was shocking. For Tom Brady, it was the culmination of a story that had been unfolding for years. A story he knew was coming but could never truly brace himself for. Just days earlier, Brady had shared an Instagram story that left followers puzzled and concerned. He posted the National Mental Health Crisis hotline number, 1-800-273-8255, with lyrics that read, "I feel like my life is not mine." The next day, he posted a selfie in his Forever Young hoodie, captioned with a single word, "Yup." Was it defiance? Heartbreak? Pretending all was fine? The answer lay in a letter he had received from Gisele years earlier, a letter that would come to define everything. In a candid 2020 interview with Howard Stern, Brady revealed the truth behind that letter. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't flattering, it was a wake-up call. Gisele wrote that she was unhappy in their marriage, that their life together only worked for one person, him. She admitted feeling like a single mother, managing their children and household, while Brady chased Super Bowls, MVP trophies, and an unrelenting football schedule. 6 months of the year, he was completely consumed. Early workouts, film sessions, road games. And when the season ended, there was no pause. Business meetings, training camps, and endorsements filled every hour. Something always came before being present with family. The letter also detailed her sacrifices, shelving her modeling career, uprooting her life multiple times, and putting her dreams aside for over a decade. Her words were blunt, almost accusatory, yet filled with love, a mirror showing Brady the real cost of his choices. Brady admitted that the letter still sits in a drawer, a constant reminder of what he almost lost. But almost was not enough. Despite therapy, promises, and efforts to change, he made decisions that ultimately proved every warning in that letter true. Those choices set the stage for a pivotal turning point in their marriage, one that would unfold shortly after Brady's brief retirement in 2022. What initially seemed like a triumph, a husband finally choosing family, would spiral into a storm of broken trust, heartbreak, and questions no victory could answer. The quiet warning of a letter had transformed into reality. The game Brady lost was not on the field. It was at home, where love and presence could never be measured in rings or records. The countdown had begun. The story of ambition, sacrifice, love, and heartbreak was just starting. And it would challenge the man celebrated as the greatest quarterback in history in ways no Super Bowl ever could. The betrayal that shook everything. The world held its breath when, on February 1st, 2022, Tom Brady announced his retirement after 22 seasons and 7 Super Bowl wins. At 44, he declared it was time to focus on what mattered most: family. Fans celebrated. Gisele posted an emotional message, thrilled that, after years of waiting, her husband might finally be fully present. It seemed, for once, the warnings in that letter, the therapy sessions, the promises, might finally be paying off. But that hope lasted just 40 days. On March 13th, 2022, Brady stunned everyone by unretiring, returning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His statement was bold. Football was still his calling. Home, the family he had pledged to prioritize, was left behind. Insiders revealed the devastation this caused. It wasn't the game that hurt Gisele, it was the betrayal. Plans made together were discarded, replaced by Brady's singular ambition. Friends said she felt like she was competing with football itself for his attention. She wasn't angry at the sport. She was furious at the broken promises, the disregard for her feelings, and the repeated sacrifices she had made for his career. The cracks became impossible to ignore. In August, Brady took an 11-day leave from training camp for personal reasons. By September, reports confirmed they were living apart. A fierce argument had erupted, and divorce lawyers were already involved. Those closest to him could sense a man unraveling under the weight of his own choices. What was meant to be a retirement celebration and family triumph became a portrait of a man divided. The quarterback who had mastered every challenge on the field was now losing the one life he could not control: his marriage. Gisele's letter, long tucked away in a drawer, had become a haunting reality. Her voice, once confined to paper, now echoed in every choice Brady made, every game played, every night spent away from home. The stage was set for heartbreak, and the next chapter would reveal just how far the greatest quarterback in NFL history had fallen, both on and off the field, the man behind the helmet. The 2022 season was meant to be a celebration, a victory lap for Tom Brady, the quarterback who had conquered the NFL. But instead of triumph, it became a season of unraveling, a stark display of vulnerability few had ever seen. The man who had commanded every field, dominated every stadium, and seemed untouchable in the public eye was now losing control of the one life he could not dictate: his marriage. Physical changes were the first signs. Brady, known for his disciplined diet and sculpted physique, began losing weight rapidly, nearly 20 pounds within weeks. His face looked hollow, and the fire that had defined him for 2 decades seemed to flicker. Teammates and coaches noticed the quiet desperation in his eyes. Tom Moore, his former assistant coach, described a moment that would linger in memory. After a grueling game, Brady returned to the locker room fully dressed, sat facing his locker, and placed his head between his legs. For 20 minutes, he did not move, speak, or acknowledge anyone passing by. The leader, the competitor, the NFL legend was frozen, overwhelmed by the consequences of choices he could no longer undo. Off the field, the strain was equally visible. Paparazzi captured Gisele without her wedding ring. Rumors swirled about separate living arrangements, fights, and ongoing discussions with divorce lawyers. The life they had promised each other was fracturing in plain sight, and the public could not look away. Even on his podcast, Brady struggled to confront the truth. He spoke vaguely about challenges and pressures, but avoided the reality staring him down. He was losing the family he had promised to protect. Gisele's letter, once tucked away in a drawer, had become a haunting prophecy. October 28, 2022, marked the official end. The 13-year marriage was finalized, custody arrangements settled, and public statements carefully worded. Yet behind the diplomacy, the pain was unmistakable. Years of love, sacrifice, and loyalty could not withstand the consequences of broken trust and choices made in pursuit of glory. This unraveling set the stage for the next chapter. When Gisele would finally speak publicly, her story would illuminate the depth of the struggle, the dreams she had set aside, and the realities that had left the greatest quarterback in NFL history confronting the life he could not win, the death of a shared dream. In early 2023, the world finally got a glimpse of Gisele Bündchen's side of the story. Sitting down for her first major interview since the divorce, she spoke candidly, with a mix of grace and raw honesty. This was not a woman seeking revenge or airing grievances. This was a woman reclaiming her truth. The first revelation shattered a persistent rumor. For months, tabloids had claimed she had issued an ultimatum: football or me. But Gisele dismissed it outright. She called it absurd, even cruel, that anyone would suggest she demanded Tom Brady retire. She never gave an ultimatum. She never wanted him to quit the sport she had supported for years. The reality, she explained, was far more nuanced. When she and Tom first met, she at 26, he at 29, they shared a vision, a family, a partnership built on mutual dreams. Over time, however, those dreams began to diverge. The differences in priorities, lifestyle, and long-term goals grew, quietly but steadily. The marriage that once felt aligned slowly became a space where two people could no longer recognize each other. Then came the truth that struck hardest. The marriage had become unhealthy, not because of a single mistake, not because of fleeting anger, but because of years of compromises that went unreciprocated. Gisele had sacrificed her modeling career, uprooted her life multiple times, and continually put her husband's ambitions above her own. And while she loved him deeply, she realized she had to step away to preserve herself and her children. She became emotional during interviews, referring to the divorce as the death of a dream. This was not bitterness, it was mourning. Mourning for the future she had envisioned, for the life she had built around another's goals, and for the family dynamics she had hoped to protect. Even after leaving, she wished Tom well, expressing genuine hope that he would find peace and happiness. Meanwhile, she quietly began constructing a new life, a life centered on honesty, transparency, and shared priorities. A life with someone who saw her, valued her, and put family first. When the public learned of her new husband and baby, the contrast with her former marriage became undeniable. For Tom Brady, the impact was seismic. The man who had faced every pressure, every expectation, every playoff moment with composure now confronted a personal truth that no helmet or playbook could shield him from. Gisele's words, her choices, and the life she was building would force him to reflect harshly on the cost of his decisions. The stage was now set for an even more public reckoning. By May 2024, what seemed like harmless entertainment would turn into a moment that left Brady confronting the pain he could no longer sidestep, the roast that would expose just how much he had lost. Comedy hits, too close to home. By May 2024, Tom Brady agreed to do what seemed like a light-hearted, harmless endeavor, star in a Netflix roast special. The concept was simple. Celebrities allow comedians to poke fun at them in front of millions. It was supposed to showcase his sense of humor and ability to laugh at himself. But what happened next would become one of the most painful moments of his life. As the cameras rolled, one joke after another targeted him mercilessly. Comedians took aim at his divorce, Gisele leaving him for a jiu-jitsu instructor, and the private struggles of his family. What was meant to be entertainment became a mirror reflecting every choice he had made, every personal cost he had ignored in pursuit of football glory. Brady laughed along. The public saw him smile, but inside, cracks were forming. The following morning, the reality hit him with full force. When he spoke to his 3 children, Jack, 17, Benjamin, 15, and Vivian, 12, they were confused, hurt, and directly confronted him. "Why did you let people make jokes about our family?" they asked. For the first time, Brady had no answer. There were no clever lines, no playbook strategy, no Super Bowl heroics to fall back on. In those moments, he realized the depth of what he had sacrificed. The years spent chasing championships, the relentless schedule, the missed holidays, and the constant prioritization of football over family. All of it came crashing down. Every action he had taken that placed the game above his marriage and children was laid bare. Months later, in a rare public admission on a podcast, Brady confessed the truth. Speaking about the conversation with his kids felt like a stake through the heart, he said. For a man who rarely showed vulnerability, this was unprecedented honesty. He acknowledged that while his dedication to football had been a demonstration of commitment, it had come at a cost his family could no longer ignore. The roast forced a reckoning. It was no longer about Super Bowls, records, or fame. It was about what truly mattered and what he had allowed to slip through his fingers. For the first time, Brady confronted the emptiness left by choices made in pursuit of greatness. The stage was now set for the next, most personal chapter. While Gisele built a life centered on love, family, and stability, Brady had to face the ultimate question. Could he ever reclaim what he had lost, or had the game of football cost him the one victory he could never win? The answer was soon to come with the news that would shake him in ways no roast, record, or trophy ever could. The birth of Gisele's child and her private wedding. The new life that shattered old hopes. February 2025 shocked the world. Gisele Bündchen, at 44, welcomed a baby boy with Joaquim Valente, her first child with someone other than Tom Brady. This was more than a birth announcement. It was a clear signal that she had started a life built around love, presence, and family, rather than fame and football. Then, on December 3rd, 2025, she quietly married Joaquim in an intimate ceremony at their Surfside, Florida home. There were no flashing cameras, no public spectacle, just a focus on family, intimacy, and stability. The contrast to her marriage with Brady could not have been more stark. What made this moment even sharper for Brady was that he knew it was coming. He had time to prepare for the finality of it, the absolute end of any hope of reconciliation. While Gisele was finding peace, presence, and partnership, Brady remained in the public eye, calling NFL games for Fox, posting cryptic social media messages, and reportedly dating Irina Shayk on and off. Everything looked fine on the surface, but inside, he was confronting what he had long avoided, the cost of choices made and the life he could no longer reclaim. This turning point set the stage for the confession that would soon shake the world. At 48, Brady was finally ready to admit the truth, the loss, the mistakes, and the reality that not every victory can be measured in rings, records, or fame. Some losses, he would learn, are permanent, and they happen at home. The confession that redefined everything. For decades, Tom Brady had been untouchable. On the field, he was meticulous, relentless, and undefeated in spirit. 7 Super Bowl rings, countless records, and millions of fans. He had conquered nearly everything. But in 2026, at 48, he revealed the one challenge that no training camp, diet plan, or playbook could have prepared him for, admitting the truth about the choices that cost him his family. Earlier this year, Brady wrote a newsletter to his fans. He framed it not as a reflection on football, but as a personal reckoning. He began by defending his life as a father and husband, explaining that his unwavering dedication to the sport was meant to set an example for his children. Hours of practice, laser-focused preparation, and a relentless pursuit of greatness were all in his mind, lessons in commitment and perseverance. He wanted his children to see what it took to succeed, to understand what discipline looked like in action. Then, Brady's tone shifted. For the first time publicly, he admitted the cracks. "You will not be perfect. Nobody is. You will fail and disappoint people along the way," he wrote. For a man whose entire identity had been built around perfection, control, and victory, those words were seismic. He was confronting a truth he had avoided for years. He had failed in the most intimate arena of all, his marriage and his family. He went further, acknowledging the unvarnished reality of priorities. "Your actions reflect your priorities. That is what you need to live up to every day," he explained. And there it was, the confession hidden in plain sight, Brady's actions. Choosing football over family, breaking promises, unretiring after just 40 days, missing holidays, enduring the divorce, and even allowing public jokes about his personal life, revealed where his focus truly lay. While Brady chased glory, Gisele built a life rooted in presence and love. A new marriage, a newborn, a family-centered home. She found what Brady could not provide, despite his fame and wealth. She held no anger toward him publicly, only well wishes. Meanwhile, Brady wrestled with the consequences of every choice, the hollow weight of championships and records that could never replace what he had lost. The greatest victory in NFL history, Brady realized, came with a price he could not reverse. Memories of Christmas mornings missed, birthdays unattended, family dinners skipped. They were inescapable. The man who had trained his body and mind to endure the impossible was now confronted with the permanence of loss he had ignored for decades. His confession was both painful and illuminating. Tom Brady understood at last that being a hero on the field did not guarantee triumph at home. Some losses cannot be measured in statistics. They are felt in the absence of laughter, in the quiet moments missed, in the family left behind. The man who once defined greatness by rings and records now defined it by reflection, regret, and the hard lessons that come when life refuses to bend to willpower. As the world read his words, they witnessed a different kind of Brady, vulnerable, human, and unshielded from the consequences of his own decisions. Football had been his empire. Family, he learned, is where the real victories and the real losses reside. And in that space, he finally faced the truth. The game he could not win was at home, and he had lost it forever. What do you think about Brady's confession and the choices he made? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.